All right, guys, so we're back with a continuation from our last video talking about, right, the deficiencies in the seatbelt approach to turtle, right? So today I'm going to give kind of a new approach, and I say new because really what I'm doing is combining elements of the top position in what's called the referee's position in Folkstyle wrestling, combining it with Jiu-Jitsu techniques, right, geared more towards Jiu-Jitsu, so pinning and then submitting our opponent. Okay, so we're talking all about the top position in turtle. Okay, so before I get into the system that I'm talking about today, let me just review again the mindset kind of behind this, right? So traditionally in the turtle position, so Nate right now is in what's called the referee's position. So in Jiu-Jitsu, this is like a variation of turtle, right? But whenever someone is off their elbows, they're usually telling me that they're going to look to build height with their hips, whether that's Nate standing up, okay, or building up to a quad pod. Whenever someone is off their elbows, again, you see this mainly from like wrestlers or MMA fighters, they're probably going to not accept just being on their elbows. Now, for a jiu-jitsu guy, right, you're probably going to see just the basic turtle where they're bringing their elbows in. They're making it hard for anyone to get hooks. Okay, so there's those two approaches. Now, again, last video I talked about the common jiu-jitsu approach. Let's just imagine Nate's on his elbows. Because most jiu-jitsu players, or I guess fundamentally, they stay in turtle very tucked like this. Okay, the system from turtle was traditionally breaking your partner down to a hip, getting a seatbelt, right? And then somehow pulling their weight on top of you to take the back, right? Pulling, right? We even use that terminology, taking the back, okay? But again, the mindset in jiu-jitsu, I think because traditionally the top player is not trying to stand up, we think about, like just pulling, always pulling someone's weight on top of us, backpacking, latching on, taking the back, versus a wrestling approach, or like what you see in MMA. It's not about taking the back, it's about forcing your opponent to give their back. Big difference, taking the back versus making them give you the back. So what is the difference here? So I think in jiu-jitsu, many people settle for just getting their partner to the hip, or sometimes not even breaking them down at all. Sometimes they'll just latch on and try to throw hooks in without breaking your partner down, which is, again, in my opinion, it's the worst thing you could do. If you want to see why, again, I'm going to refer back to our last video about the seatbelt. We show it in the gi, but you nogi only guys, don't be afraid. All the techniques can be applied in nogi as well, even though we showed it in the gi. Okay? So rather than just breaking down to a hip or just latching onto the back, what I'm talking about is breaking your partner down completely and then mounting the hips, okay? Mounting the hips and then taking the back, right? Or forcing your partner to go belly down, basically threatening the mount so much that your partner wants to either give their back or they want to roll. That will allow you to then get the back, okay? So with that being said, if we're looking to break them down, like again, like in the sport of wrestling, because they're on their hands, the wrestling approach is to get your partner's butt off the heels and keep breaking them down here so that they're easy to turn over to their back. Because again, in the goal of wrestling, the objective of wrestling is to pin, get both shoulders on the mat. Okay, but if we treat our jiu-jitsu the same way and we mount them and try to get their shoulders flat to the mat, you're going to find that that pressure oftentimes makes people want to give the back, in which case allows you, okay, better control and a better transition to eventually finish from the back as well. Okay, again, like this is not just me saying this. Like if you look at a lot of the greats, look at Roger Gracie, one of probably the top jiu-jitsu competitor of all time when you talk about accolades in the gi, no gi, and MMA, right? Roger always talks about this. Like I think even in a podcast, he even argued that the mount was more dominant than just back, okay? Because he's talking about isolating and pinning the hips, giving your partner no control, no option, right? If you look at like someone who's dominant in nogi now, like a Gordon Ryan, his approach is very similar, right? He's going to get to top half guard, he's going to mount the hips, partner is going to give the back, and then he's going to finish, okay? Now, if you even look in MMA, who's the most dominant grappler in MMA, right? I would argue Khabib Nurmagomedov, and I think a lot of people would too. What's Khabib's system? He's going to close the distance, take you down. He's going to mount the hips, maybe a little bit of ground and pound. They turn, give the back, and then he's going to strangle, right? So it's not a new concept, but I think because of sport, right, a lot of us, like that systematic approach has kind of been lost because people are just hunting the back now, right? They're just trying to take the back versus dominate and make the person on bottom give the back. Okay, so hopefully you guys understand my mindset. Now let's get to the techniques, right? So if we're not going to latch, what are we going to do? So the alternative that I especially teach my students here, instead of a seatbelt, we're only settling for 2-on-1 wrist control. So whatever you do, arms stay underneath your partner's armpits, never over the shoulder, unless you have a leg in, which we'll show in another video. Okay, always settle for two. We always want a 2-on-1 wrist control here. Okay, so this is great because if Nate's in a jiu-jitsu turtle, let's imagine I'm going against, okay, Nate's not giving space for the hooks, but he's literally giving exposure to the wrist. He's literally just giving me wrist. Okay, so look, if Nate's in a jiu-jitsu turtle, I'm just going to go arms under and I'm going to get a wrist here. So once I get that 2-on-1 posture, Nate, so you see that? Okay, once I get that 2-on-1, I'm going to continue to look to break Nate down to the side. So let's rotate this way, Nate. So the way that I'm going to do it is whatever side I have the wrist, I have Nate's left wrist here. I'm going to bring my knee to the side. Actually, so I'm going to rotate again. Here. So I have this wrist. I'm going to pin it to the ground, and I'm going to shuffle and bring my knee to Nate's knee here. Now from here, all I'm going to do, okay, is I'm going to row the wrist in, and I'm going to bring my elbow to my ribs, very similar to the gi approach, right, where they grab the collar here. But instead I have a 2-on-1. Now look, I'm going to bring my elbow to my ribs, and I'm going to shuffle towards Nate's head to bring him down to a hip. Okay, now let's rotate this way, Nate. So notice I've broken Nate down to a hip. Now this is a perfect chance for me to underhook the leg here. Okay, now if you guys saw our video in the past about the crossbody wrist ride, this is that position. Take a look. I have Nate's wrist trapped. I have the bottom leg underhooked, right? And you might be looking at this like, what? Like, how's this going to work? But if I just keep my shoulder down, Nate, try to move. Okay, because I have him collapsed over his wrist and I have the bottom leg hooked, he can't move. Now from this position, I'm going to slowly look to mount the top leg and then the bottom leg here. Now I'm not going to go too much in depth on this process because we made a full video about it. It's called the crossbody wrist ride. Here, right, I can use my head. We can bar it up, force the rear mount position, finish from here. You can even take a claw grip, right? Start forcing the mount. If your partner goes flat on the back, then great. We're going to attack a head and arm and then eventually double underhooks, right? If he fights it, boom, he's giving me his back. Now I can take the back with wrist control so that I can attack the choke as I'm taking him over. Okay, so that's pathway number 1. Again, we're here. He's in a jiu-jitsu turtle. I get wrist control because it's going to be very accessible. I go knee to knee, okay, and I shuffle towards the head as I use my elbow and row that wrist to his stomach, break him down. Right away, we're underhooking the leg, and we're looking to mount the hips here. Okay, the pressure from being on top makes your opponent want to give the back, or they're going to settle for being mounted with a head and arm already. Okay? Now, although that's the first approach I always go for, generally, especially against someone bigger, it's going to be hard to break them down to the side. So, Nate's on his elbows. I have the 2-on-1 wrist control. I'm trying to break Nate down like this, and he's really staying tight. Okay, but that's okay. Now it's going to lead to the approach I actually prefer. So I'm trying to break Nate down, same side of the wrist. Okay, he's resisting. So I'm going to hop to the other side. Let's rotate this way. Okay, I'm trying to break Nate down. He's resisting. I hop to the other side, and look at how I drive this knee in right here. Okay, now from here, okay, I'm driving my knee in. Okay, now left knee's behind the butt. I'm going to use, right, a turning motion with this knee, and I'm going to try to open space so I could hook Nate's leg here. You guys see that? Let's do it from the side again. So I'm trying to break him down. He's resisting. I come to this side, use my knee. Okay, pry. And then I'm going to try to scoop and grab the foot here. Still give me some base, Nate. Okay. Now, once I get this foot, once I get the leg hook, rotate again. The first thing that I'm going to look to do, okay, keep the wrist. Okay, I'm going to look for his far ankle, and I'm going to weave my foot over my ankle. You guys see that? How I weave my foot over my ankle? Now from here, I'm going to keep driving my body across Nate's shoulder. Now you can do that while keeping the wrist, or can you posture up for me, Nate? You can use this hand and reach across the tricep as you grab the ankle, and I keep hopping till I have him pinned on his side. Now notice I'm right on Nate's hips, okay? Now from here, I'm gonna take that cross face. You guys can start working to submit from mount. Okay, again, if Nate doesn't accept mount, he keeps turning into me. Now he exposes the back, and you could take the back here. Okay? Now, let's imagine, okay? Nate's really strong. So this is a little bit more of an advanced option. I actually got this from, if you guys want to see a match, right? And this worked at the Olympic level, right? Aaron Brooks, Olympic bronze medalist for the US, versus, I forget the guy's name, a guy from Dagestan, but he beat Aaron Brooks in the semifinals of the last Olympics because he uses this variation to turn him, right? So he gets here, and I've been liking this for Jiu-Jitsu as well. So if I get here and I hook Nate's leg, okay, and I want to take him over the far shoulder, but I'm like trying to lift and I can't, right? Nate's staying very stubborn, okay? All I'm gonna do, rotate Nate. Sorry guys, we're gonna have to do a lot of turning. All I'm gonna do is reach back and hook this leg. Here, I reach back and hook. You can hold it with your foot or you can get it to the crease of your elbow. Now let's rotate. Now from here, come across the far ankle and I can start driving my weight here. Now I can start attacking the head and arm, which again will lead to a whole mount system, or the pressure of the mount will make Nate give me his back. Then we take, okay? So that's the basic approach. Again, there's many other things I'll do, but I think that approach of getting the 2-on-1 is gonna be more dominant than latching onto the seatbelt. Again, you'll see, refer to the previous video, there's not gonna be a lot of outs for Nate to try to like quad pod up, okay? Let's talk about if Nate's in the referee's position now, okay? Maybe the wrestler or the MMA fighter in your gym is turtling like this. Again, this is the last person you want a seatbelt on, because then they're just gonna quad pod up and then you're gonna come falling off, okay? The first thing we need to do, okay, is get weight over the far shoulder, and we need to find a way to get their butt off their heels. That'll in turn put weight onto the hands, which will allow you to break them down. Okay, so how am I gonna do that? I'm gonna line up, I call it an L formation. Okay, I have one leg behind Nate's butt, the other leg is on the side. Okay, now what I'm gonna do, always my first move is to drive my weight over the cross shoulder. So I'm gonna go double thigh pry and drive my weight across the shoulder here. Let's do it from this angle. Here. So L formation with the legs, double thigh pry, and I'm gonna drive my head over the far shoulder. Imagine you're trying to get your belly button over that hand. You won't really have to do that, but that's the amount of drive I want. Here. And you guys see how my knee is blocking Nate's knee? My other knee is driving up his tailbone so that he can't sit back down. Other knee is driving up the tailbone so he can't sit back down. Now the first move I'm gonna do here is called a spiral ride. And I've seen a couple people do this, and it's completely not wrong. I just think when you're applying it live, it's unrealistic. So I see a lot of people teach a spiral ride in Jiu-Jitsu, right? They do this, they go spiral on the inside of the thigh, and they run around towards your partner's head, right? They'll run off the hip like that and break their partner down to the wrist. Now again, I think it's a great, fundamentally it's sound technique, but when you actually go to apply this, especially against people who are bigger than you, or people who are wrestlers, it's not gonna be that easy just to break them down to a hip by running. So I'm gonna give you one detail for that spiral ride, okay? I double thigh pry, and I'm driving, right? I'm trying to spiral ride. Nate's trying to sit his butt down. So what I'm gonna do is take my head, okay, and bring my head over the far shoulder like that. That's gonna help me grab the wrist. So I still have this spiral tension, but I'm gonna give that little shuck with my head. So double thigh pry, I'm driving, okay? I'm trying to spiral ride, I'm running my feet. Watch my head, it goes from this shoulder to that shoulder. Boom. Then I snatch the wrist, then you guys can go right into the breakdowns here, okay? So that's option one, double thigh pry to spiral ride. Let's just say the spiral ride doesn't work. Okay, so I go double thigh pry, I go spiral ride, Nate's not moving. Now I'm gonna take the hand that's spiraling or prying the thigh, excuse me, and I'm gonna go deep across his hip. Now when I come back over, that same motion where I bring my head over the shoulder, I'm gonna do that same thing, but I'm also gonna drive my knee in front of Nate's knee. So I'm here, I go tight waist, and then I drive. Look at how that's already a lot of pressure. That itself already broke down Nate. But let's imagine you're trying to do it against someone bigger, someone stronger than you, and it doesn't break them down. At the very least, it's gonna put a lot of pressure on that hand, and we're just gonna break them down to an elbow. So I'll show you. Double thigh pry, we try to go spiral, doesn't work. Tight waist, look at how far I reach that hand. And then look at, as I drive, I break Nate down to an elbow, collect the wrist, and again, we're breaking them down to a hip, okay? I'll show from this side. Okay, look at how I'm driving. Try to go spiral, doesn't work. Bring my arm all the way over. Now look, the key also is I'm pushing off that back foot as I'm wrenching the gut and driving this knee in to chop down, okay? He resists me this way. I could hop back around, get the leg hook. Okay, break him down, now I'm here. Okay, so we have double thigh pry, spiral, tight waist, chop, okay? Those are the basics, right? I think that's a good place to start. Definitely there's layers of this, and we'll add to this in future videos, but play around with it. I think, again, it takes a little bit of a different mindset, especially if you just started with jiu-jitsu. You're generally gonna wanna just hang on someone, but really learn how to ride the hips, learn how to break your partner down, and just the mindset you wanna take if you guys wanna approach this when you're training is don't take the back unless you mount them first. Be very disciplined about mounting first, trying to pin, act like it's wrestling. Try to pin their shoulders on the mat for 3 seconds, and you wanna elicit the response of them trying to turn because they don't wanna be pinned. And then that's when you guys take the back, okay? So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Give it a try. I hope this helps out. I mean, I know it's changed the game for me and my students as well. Like the students here, I show that approach versus the seatbelt approach. But yeah, like I said, as always, just like and subscribe to promote the channel, and let us know in the comments how it works, or if you guys find that it's helpful, or whatever you think we can do better to help grow the channel. We want to keep putting out content for you guys. Cool. Thank you guys.